Evviva! Ciao ragazzi, benvenuti a un nuovo episodio di Italiani in Australia. Oggi sono qua da sola, o meglio no, sono qua con due amici. Emma non è potuto aggiungersi al gruppo, ma perché in realtà tratteremo di un topic che è un pochino diverso e a lui diciamo che non era interessato, poi comunque eravamo in troppi e insomma abbiamo deciso di prendere un'altra strada. L'unica cosa è che i miei due amici sono due ragazzi australiani, quindi dovrò fare il passaggio in inglese. Ok, we are gonna switch into English. Hi guys, how are we today? So today we have Jack and Antony, they're a couple of friends of mine, and yeah, let me introduce them to you guys.
Hi guys, how you going? My name's Jack. I was brought up in country New South Wales, but I moved to Sydney when I was about 12 years old, and I've basically been here ever since.
Yeah, wow, interesting. From the country. How come did you decide from regional Australia to move into a bigger city, like in a big city?
So I went to boarding school. It was a bit of a tradition in my family to go away to school, and yeah, we decided to, or my parents decided to send me away, and yeah, it worked out, which was quite good.
Would you recommend from someone from Italy to come here to move into a regional location, or you would suggest them to come straight to big cities for their experience?
I think it comes down to opportunity, where they're going to have the biggest opportunity for the career they're trying to develop or the things that they're trying to do. You know, if they're just looking to have a fun time, you would obviously spend more time in some fun cities, maybe some outdoor kind of more exploration type activities at places like Cairns or the Gold Coast. But if they're looking for like an education and to integrate into the workforce, then Sydney and Melbourne is probably a good bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about you, Antony? What do you think?
My introduction is...
Yeah, your introduction first and also what Jack was saying.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm Antony. I'm 31 years old. I moved to Australia 10 years ago from South America.
So that's a story pretty similar to mine, I'd say.
Yeah, our story is very similar actually,
Yeah. Why did you pick Sydney amongst all the other cities? Because I had few questions from our listeners in the past and they were questioning me whether Sydney was the main pick or if they had to go in, I don't know, Melbourne or Adelaide, Perth.
Yeah, when I moved here, I moved to Perth because it was less expensive. But then I lived there for a few years, and as Jack was saying, because of opportunities and stuff like that, I moved to Sydney.
Yeah, that is a very valid point, guys, for you to consider when you're gonna decide in which cities you're gonna move. Obviously, I'm referring to everyone that is still in Italy. For whoever is here, well, that's your choice, and you're gonna keep going with that. But today, that's not the topic in reality that we are gonna discuss. So today we are gonna deep dive in house dating here in Australia. So how it works, how all the logistic bit, and how easy it is to actually meet new people, build a relationship and all of that, because I really feel like that it's quite different from Italy, and I think it's really interesting to have a different point of view from someone that was born here and someone that migrated like me here in Australia 10 years ago but still has a different background. So let's dive into the episode, and so let's start from the first question. How do you meet people here in Australia?
So from I suppose an Australian guy perspective, I think the best way to meet people, there's two different ways. One is going out, and that kind of involves nighttime activities. It might be gigs or going to the pub or going to a bar, but you'll typically find it's quite hard to meet someone in that setting just because most people are drinking and hanging out with their friends, and they're not that open to forming new connections. But the other way is probably sporting groups or gyms or running clubs are a popular way.
What about like parties at friends' houses? Like, I don't know, maybe a birthday. I feel like this is probably the easiest way to meet people and have a proper conversation, because as you mentioned, pubs and this setting, I found that extremely hard. People are already in groups, and obviously they don't even give you 1% opening to sort of like approach and
Yeah,
see.
it is a bit like that. It's a bit cliquey when you do go out to pubs or clubs. So yeah, definitely barbecues, birthdays, and events at people's houses is a great way to do it. Kind of friends of friends. But I think to get that initial invite, you need to be around some people of similar age and similar interests. So it kind of starts with either sporting clubs or maybe it's work friends that kind of builds into something from there.
Yeah, I feel like gym is a good one, especially like big gyms, because you have like a lot of variety there, and it's easy to find people that they have the same interests basically that you have, like even if it's just the lifestyle the life that you're living and all the things. What about dating apps? Would you consider?
Yep, so dating apps are really, really common here. So your typical ones are Tinder, Hinge and Bumble. Hinge is probably the most popular one within Sydney.
Would you say that it's the most reliable or the one that you'd get the best out of it?
It's probably the one that's more geared towards relationships. Tinder's very much geared towards hookups.
Yeah.
Bumble's a little bit of both. And I think you just find on when you have a few different options, people tend to gravitate towards one or the other. But most people that are looking for a relationship or looking for something a little bit more than some fun, they're looking at things like Hinge and Bumble.
I don't know, I've been always pretty unlucky in this realm when it comes to dating app, because maybe sometimes I talk to someone, they seem pretty decent person, and then when it's the time to meet, sometimes they ghost me, they don't even show up. And this happened with me 3 times, and all the time it was with Bumble. So I'm like, Bumble, no, I give up on that. But then I find Hinge like quite hard as well, because the guys, they don't message you, and if you do message them, I think you shouldn't do that, because the first move should come from the guy, because I think like otherwise the guy's not interested. I don't know, do you agree with that?
There's a few different things to unpack there. I think the good thing about Hinge is if you're interested in the guy, you can show interest and he'll be alerted by that. Same way, if you're a guy and you want to show a girl interest, she'll be alerted by that. So it's a bit hit and miss. Sometimes you might be successful with that. Sometimes you might not be, because they might not be interested in you. So it is a bit hit and miss. Whereas if you are on apps like Bumble or Tinder, you're both mutually or individually chosen each other at the same time. So it's, that there's some interest there from their end, but also from your end.
But what's the spectrum here in which you'd put a like? Because sometimes I'm putting a like to someone that I'm like, oh yes, I really like it, I really like this guy, and then maybe some other likes to people that I'm like, there is something, but I'm not. You don't have to be fully sold on the pictures that you see or on the profile, but at least get above that threshold and be like, yeah, okay. And then when you have the match, maybe with these guys, I'm not actually texting them. And that's when it comes, would you message these people?
For me, it becomes a matter of, I think initially for a guy, when you're choosing who you should be connecting with, a lot of it comes down to physical appearance initially, and then you look at their profile to make sure that they are someone you want to get to know and want to kind of investigate a little bit more. But I think if they meet those criteria, then you going to start a conversation with them, and then it's just about where that conversation goes. At least from my perspective, I start conversations with everyone that I have at least gone through that process with. So I've confirmed, yep, they're within my ballpark of what I'm looking for in terms of attractiveness, but also in terms of their hobbies and interests. There's some alignment there.
Yeah, but did ever happen to you when it's not a fake profile, but the picture is highly photoshopped? So you have to consider this bit as well, because you were talking about attractiveness. So someone that you're like, oh yeah, fuck, she's hot. But then after you're like, yeah, okay, she ticks the box for this one, blah, blah, blah. But then you meet her and she's actually not like that. So how would you handle with that situation? Because after the opinion that you have about physical appearance, actually it doesn't count. So it's not real.
Yeah, so the issue is everyone's always going to show their best photos on these apps, and the problem is that typically leads people to oversell themselves on the apps, and you meet them in person and they sometimes don't stack up to what they're advertising. And then it comes down to in person, is there a connection? Are you still attracted, or are they significantly different to the point where you probably don't want to see them again because they've either photoshopped or done something to make themselves more appealing than they actually are.
Here I've got a couple of funny stories to tell you guys. One time I met with this guy on Hinge, and he was a cop, I think. Yeah, I cannot say where, but it's actually in the city, somewhere in the city. And this guy was a detective, whatever, and he seemed okay from the pictures and everything. We had good chats and all of that, so we decided to meet up at the park to have a walk. But then, when I met him, I realized that the pictures that he put it on the profile, they were him 10 years younger. So he looked extremely old. Like, you feel like those 10 years for him, they were like, I had a great time because we stayed out like 4 hours and we walked, we had nice talk and all of that. And then he wanted to go out again, but I couldn't, because I said no to him, and I said to him, look, I don't think we want the same things, but we can still be friends, because I actually had a good time and I wanted to stay in touch with the person. But for that, look be it, because to me, I was like, you don't have to put pictures that you 10 years ago, because thank you, everyone looks younger, everyone looks fresher, and it's like you're trying to get somewhere, but it's not the real you, and the you of today is actually older. So I feel like there is a gap of this speed. So I'm like, that's one thing that happened. So, and then the guy obviously didn't like it, and he's like, no, thank you. And another guy photoshopped muscles on himself, like literally he was a fat guy from Wollongong, sorry, and we met up in Cronulla, and I had to drive there. And when I got there, that guy was literally a ball of fat, but on the profile, still Hinge, he literally made his muscles on Photoshop, like the nice curve. He fixed his bones on the face, everything, because he was a designer, so obviously there was something in common, and we had a good conversation. But when we went there, the guy was like a disaster, and he had holes in his t-shirt, and he was stinking, and I was like, that's just gross, it's not for me. Like, was it just me that I had like these bad experiences? Seems like you guys didn't have.
No, guys do have these experiences as well. I've been on my fair share of dates with women that have had older photos where they've been, reasonably fit and healthy, and then I've showed up and they've been a little bit of the opposite of that. They've put on 5 or 10 kilos, and they're no longer kind of treating their body with respect in that way, and they're I would consider unhealthy. So one of my values, I guess, and something that I try and live by, is to be fit and healthy and have an active lifestyle. So when I kind of look for that in someone and then they show up and that's not there, then obviously that's a bit of a turn off. But
would you give them a chance, or you'd be like, oh no, this person down the track doesn't live up to my values or doesn't have my lifestyle? Because to me now that I'm quite of an active person and I look after myself and all of that, I don't see me dating someone that at least has what I consider acceptable. Like, that's my minimum standard, I like to call it. So, and now I know that if he's below that threshold, so doesn't have an active lifestyle, like someone that is on the couch all day, is actually just not for me. So would you accept something that is below your minimum standard?
I would, and it does depend on like the reason and how consistent that will be. So for example, like if there's someone who has broken their ankle and they couldn't exercise, so
no, but that's a different topic. That's like the person cannot do it.
Yeah, okay, but what I'm, I suppose, getting to is the value is still there. The person still values fitness and health, and if they lose that aspiration, I guess, then that's where I'll be like, okay, there's a misalignment between what I'm looking for and what the other person's providing. Whereas, like, yeah, if someone's broken their ankle and they can't physically do exercise and they put on extra weight,
but that's fair enough.
You give them the
yeah,
benefit of the doubt,
of
right?
course. No, I was more talking like, as you said before, that if you meet a girl that is 5 or 10 kilos more, obviously has a different lifestyle, and this girl maybe talking to you, she's like, oh, I really like staying on the couch over the weekend and blah blah, and you figure it out down the track that what she does is staying on the couch, eating chips and all of that. I would never tolerate that. That was like, and I guess not even you would do that.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
So if someone, doesn't have that kind of fit and healthy lifestyle that I'm wanting to kind of connect up with, then, usually I'll pass on that. Unless there are circumstances where every other box they will tick.
Yeah.
And I might make an exception. But yeah, it's, if you lose enough deal breakers, then you,
of course.
You kind of lose interest there.
You talk about these boxes a lot. I'm not gonna deep dive into what these boxes are, but I've seen that a lot of guys and a lot of girls have these famous lists in which they highlight all the things that the hypothetical partner should have. In my personal experience, I'm like, I know that there should be a list, but what I value more is actually that emotional connection with the person. So in my experience, actually, I realized that I liked people that they were way out of my list. They had things that I would never accept. For example, height for me, it's very important. And if I have to meet someone that I don't know, that has to be, must be 300%. But then it happened in the past, maybe you get to know someone and they are just high enough, and that was fine. Like, it's sort of compromising on these list items in a way. But then you have that emotional connection. Would you compromise, or you're strict to your points or to your list? Yes, no.
I think each item on the list is flexible to a degree, except for some key ones. So, to throw out an example, would I want to couple up with someone who's 5 inches taller than me? Probably not. And that would be a fairly...
5 inches, how many centimeters? Because in Italy, I don't know how to say how many.
So that's like 10, 15 centimeters
it's
taller.
Way a lot.
So do I want to couple up with a woman that's much larger than me physically? And that's a pretty hard deal breaker. I think that's one I won't be flexible on. But there's definitely ones that I can be flexible on. Okay, are they in shape? Have they been fit and healthy over the last 6-12 months, and are they in good shape? And so that's obviously a spectrum, right? So you don't just have someone's overweight and someone's fit. You have all these different variables in between that.
These shades of grey, I'd say.
Exactly. So there's some deal breakers that you have shades of grey, and then there's some that are just firm. And it's about figuring out which ones you're firm on and which ones you're...
To me, the most important is the emotional connection. Like at this point of my life, if I don't have that, I'm not gonna waste. Even though it's a person that is tall, whatever, but I feel like I need that. Because I'm looking for that best friend type of connection. Like someone that I can be either in pyjama or whatever, and he would appreciate the way I think, what I do, how I do it, and all that sort of stuff. Compromise and fit on the look, maybe that could be.
Well, there you go. Well, you've got your firm deal breaker that you need to have that emotional connection, right?
But I feel like that's the most important thing. I would never be with anyone if I don't have that emotional connection, and I think neither do you.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So that's important. On the dating apps, do you think in your previous experience, because I asked this question also to other Italian friends, do you think there is a pattern in the way that the girls display themselves there, or the way that they present themselves, the things that they say?
I think to a degree everyone's very similar with things like small talk. Initially, first couple of messages are going to be the boring kind of, how's your week going? How's your day going?
Classic.
And it's the answers that come off that you can build off. So I think, there is a bit of consistency there with when you're getting to know different people at the same time. You're going to think, okay, all of them have a similar personality. But it's when you delve down deeper into the their conversations and you get deep with those connections, that you start to realize the differences between everyone.
Yeah, of course. And because obviously we live in a big city, it's multicultural. Obviously we've got people from around the world. Do you find a difference if in your experience in the past you had to talk with different girls from different personalities? Because obviously maybe the way that you would approach someone from Italy, it's different from someone from Australia or from someone from, I don't know, England or any other country. Or do you find a difference in all these type of girls communicating and talking to you?
I haven't picked up on a specific difference. I think everyone's different just depending on their background and kind of where they've come from and, you know, their education level and those types of things. I haven't found a pattern between this is what an Australian girl says and this is what an English girl says and this is what a Chinese girl says.
Because I can find patterns in the way that they behave, or because when they figure out that I'm Italian, they always ask the same thing. Oh, do you like pizza? Do you like pasta? Or like the same stuff. How long you've been here? What visa are you on? Like this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. But then when you meet them in person, like if I meet someone Italian or Australian or whatever, I sort of see differences in their behavior and in their body language. Is it something that you would notice as well, or you just focus on, or what's more natural for you and just look for Australians?
So it's a question that I noticed, like different mannerisms and
yeah,
things
as well. Yeah.
Them.
Or different way that that you have an interaction with them, basically.
I connect a lot with English, Australian. Don't match with that many Europeans. Every now and again, maybe.
A classic Aussie guy, I'd say. Yeah.
So I probably don't have enough variety to say.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
But I think to a degree, definitely. I think sometimes backgrounds do affect mannerisms and affect
absolutely.
the way conversations go, and there's certain backgrounds that would be well aligned with other guys or girls.
Yeah, of course. Because we talk about dating, so we are not at the point online dating. Sorry, that we are not yet at the point that you meet the person, and then we talk at the very beginning of this episode when you were explaining about places where to meet people. So let's pretend that if we are going down the track of online dating, we are at the point that we are meeting the person and whatever. For all the listeners back home, do you guys have any tips on this specific bit? So how to communicate with the girl here, what to say, what to do, just because I suppose that these people from Italy, at the point that they come here, they would start, going out and see if they can get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
What would you recommend?
What tips?
Yeah, I don't know. Any tips? Like that could be either to show a girl that you are actually interested, or like anything. So to smooth the whole process, make it easy.
Okay, so I think definitely keeping an open mind. So some guys have a different idea of fun and what dates they find interesting, and the guy would typically do most of the planning of the first date. And I think that's also an important one as well. So guys will initiate typically. 9 times out of 10 guys should be initiating, whether they're interested in you or whether where you should go on the first date and things like that. So keep an open mind, keep things fun. Try not to take things probably too seriously on the first date, and also just have a good time getting to know them. Also
because if I can say, you guys are the take it easy, free spirit mood. Like it's always keep things easy, don't overcomplicate it, and all of that. Yeah. And that's an Australian thing.
Probably.
Yeah, it is. Like, you mentioned the activities and all that. I love activities. Like if a guy organized something on the first date, like mini golf or long ball or all those things, bowling. I feel like this is a good way of starting to get to know a person. Sort of breaks the ice, and you don't have to have a simple drink at the pub or at the bar or having a pizza or whatever. I feel like this is actually an easy way to like get the date and go on the date.
Exactly. It immediately gives you something to think about and something to joke about and laugh about. which I think is really important on a first date. You know, if you walk away from a first date and you haven't laughed, there's probably a problem there. So,
a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. So if it's an activity like bowling or putt or something like that, it's a good way to get a little bit competitive as well, and you can have a little bit of banter there as well, which is basically you can tease each other playfully.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Banter, because we don't have this word in Italy, and that's quite like slangy here.
Okay.
What is a banter? Let's explain.
So banter is
that pronunciation's better than mine. Yes, that
is playfully teasing each other. So if you're doing 10-pin bowling, giving them a little bit of slack or a little bit of criticism here and there.
It is like flirting
in a fun way. It is
like
flirting.
Yeah.
A
bit more subtle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a way of flirting, and it's a way that guys and girls can tease each other, but in a playful way. Usually the person is smiling or laughing at the same time when they say it, which kind of breaks the ice and they know it's not real. So.
Yeah. After this first date, let's say we're going to the mini golf. Let's pretend. Mm-hmm. And then, we had fun. It was good. But, so we attached that but at the very end. How many chances would you give to the other person to sort of like, I think she's good and let's give it another chance? Because sometimes I went a mini golf with a guy and I was like, oh my God, I just want to go home. Let's just smash it through, because it was a hard no. Whereas other times I was like, let's give it another chance. What would be a deal break? Like, what would be the thin line there? And how many chances would you give?
I guess my personal view is, unless it's a hard no, then you continue on. So unless there's something about them that you definitely cannot like put up with for having a relationship with them, or you just don't see it going anywhere, then for those ones you can pass on the second date. But I think if there's something that you're just not too sure on, that you need more clarification on, I think you proceed with caution.
Caution.
The second date you find out more, and then you might find out, definitely, like, this person's not for me, or you might find out, actually they just had a once-off, like, strange comment, or a once-off, like, I don't know, they made an offensive joke or something, but their viewpoint doesn't really back that up, or something like that.
Fair enough. No, that's all interesting, guys, and I feel like there are good tips here and there that you can make yours, and then once you're here, you can try Jack's way of seeing dating, I'd say. Another thing that I wanted to quickly discuss, and then I feel like we can wrap up this episode. So we are going to go back at the very beginning of the episode, when we were talking about meeting people where we were going out in any sort of scenario. So it could be either the gym, the pub, the restaurant, anything. And how is it actually very hard to connect with people in that specific moment? Because obviously all these persons are already separated in their own group. And Jack has a theory about this. And actually I'll let him talk this theory out and explain to you guys what this theory is about, which actually I think is quite right. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So basically, guys and girls, when they're out in their own separate groups, just say they're out at a bar, or they're out at a pub, or they're at the gym, one of the guy's biggest fears, so the guy should initially be the person that makes the move, right? They make the first move, they initiate. So that's typically how things are done in Australia.
And I think in the rest of the world as well.
In probably the rest of the world as well, yeah.
Yes.
But the problem is, guys have quickly been labelled to be a creep or to be weird if they go up to a girl and the girl isn't interested in them. Because the girl immediately gets freaked out and she gets concerned, and she often thinks, why is this random stranger guy coming up to me? So the problem is, guys aren't willing to just go up and say hello anymore just on a whim, or just because they see someone that they're attracted to. They actually need to wait for a signal from a girl that they're interested in.
So, guys, are you taking notes? Because we are getting juicy here. That's the good stuff.
So say, for example, you walk into a bar and you you make eye contact with someone across the room, and you're like, okay, that guy looks attractive, or that girl looks attractive.
This person actually looking at you, or maybe she's looking, or he's looking at the background.
Exactly. So the thing is, eye contact can be, you might have direct eye contact, but it might not actually be that they're interested in you in that way. So they might be looking behind you, they might be looking at your friend next to you, or they might be looking just to see because somehow they caught your attention. So it doesn't necessarily prove that there's interest there. So my theory is that guys need to feel that they're safe to come up to you so that they don't get labeled as a creep. So if you're a girl and you are interested in a guy, you need a way to show interest in that guy from a distance so that he is happy to come up and say hello. So
it's sort of like we do just that 20% of the work just to make you like be confident in yourself.
Exactly, yeah. The guy needs to know he's not going to get laughed in his face, basically. And the way to do that is...
I don't think a girl would laugh at their face. Would be like, what the fuck are you doing here? Please go away. I don't want to have nothing.
No, it can't happen.
No, it happens. It happens, and it's very embarrassing socially if you get laughed at when you go up to a girl and you say hello. Usually you have to leave the entire bar because everyone's seen it, and then you have to leave. So to avoid that situation, most guys don't go up to girls. They wait for a signal of interest, and so that could be a few things. It could be you could wave to the guy, and you could play with your hair and look at him and smile. You could position yourself closer to him. So there's a bit of like a proximity rule where basically like if you are within speaking distance of the guy that you're interested in, at least he can kind of turn over his shoulder and say something to you, or he can initiate some type of conversation. But if you're 30 meters away and you're looking at this guy and you're trying to give him eye contact to come over, he's not going to come over because it's not enough for him at that stage. He needs something more like a wave or
something,
or even like you hold the drink in the air and you cheers them from afar.
That's a lot to ask. So I would try something, but that's a lot. Like I would never do that.
I mean, so you think that's nerve-wracking? Try walking 20-30 meters up to someone you're interested in and you don't know whether you're going to get called a creep. Like that's no,
I'm gonna just walk toward this person, but then I'll just pretend I'm doing something else and I give him the look, and then it's up to him. I'm like, mate, wake up.
See, that's the thing. The guys need more than the look.
Yeah, I'll ask him something that it's not related.
Exactly. So that's another way is you ask them something that's not related.
Do you think there is a number of seconds in which you don't fall into the creepy line? That you can actually hold your eyes on someone, because otherwise you look like a creep. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't stare at people, right? Staring's offensive.
Antony is back. He was around prepping the lunch. That's why we heard the bell before, but that's fine. It's our lasagna in the oven.
But yeah, staring's offensive, but look, it's okay to give eye contact, of course, and that's a good way to tell, hey, maybe this person's interested, but there needs to be something more. There needs to be, it could be anything. You could walk up and sit at the table next to them, and you could just lean across and say, look, are you using this chair, or are you using these napkins, or whatever it is that's there for you to use.
Using this piece of equipment at the gym could be another good one.
Exactly. If you're at the gym, hey, how do you use this thing? Or hey, are you going to use this next? It might just be as simple as that.
Yeah,
that sparks a connection.
Yeah, of course. Well, those are all like very, very interesting points. I think we got to the end of these episodes. We talk about a lot of things today. I'd say probably the key points are don't be a creep. So that's probably the first one, and don't stare at girls, because there's actually, what did you say before? It's offensive. It's offensive. Yeah, that's a good one. And then either to meet people through online dating or in person. I feel like each one of them has good points and bad points, but probably the common ground is just do something. because if you're just staying on your couch, you not get the job done and you ended up alone, maybe with your cats. Having said that, guys, I really hope you are gonna enjoy this episode. I really hope you liked it. And do you guys have anything else to say before I'll do the closing line? No?
I think that's it for me.
Good.
No, Antony's prepping. He was a very passive guest today. I'm sorry about it. Having said that, if you have any comments, I'm very keen to hear your stories about dating here in Australia. If you have some good experience that you want to share, or even if it's a bad one, I'm actually very keen to read that too. And the same thing back home. Please send me an email at italiani.thepodcast@gmail.com and I'll be more than happy. And having said that, guys, this is lunchtime. I'll hope you're having the best day, the best night, everything you're doing, wherever you are, back in Italy, back in Australia. I'll see you guys next time. Ciao!
See you.